Gentlemen, welcome to this live show from the SHOT Show floor at the Samson booth. This is Charlie from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. First of all, we want to thank Samson Manufacturing for letting us use their booth again this year. We did some live shows last year. We're doing live shows this year, but one of the really cool things that they've done this year is they gave us a 1942 World War II Jeep, which is really cool. So thank you to Samson. And we also want to thank Chris at Land World. Land World actually, they work with old cars. So if you want to have an old car replaced or shipped, these are the guys to go. Check them out. Land World, LAN World. They brought this down from Salt Lake City, Utah, which is pretty cool. Chris, the owner of it, said he bought it when he was 18 and he's restored it. And this thing is really cool. So please check out Land World. Please check out Samson Manufacturing. Today, we are going to have some live shows. The first person I have with me is Ben Sanderson from Gun Owners of America. Ben, I'm going to say this. When they asked me to reach out, they're like, I said, who do you want to have on the show? They're like, let's get Ben again. I'm like, let's. GOA has so much stuff going on. First thing I want to talk about is the new event that you guys did last year, which was the Goals event. I went down there. Dude, it was a huge success. It was great.
Well, I mean, thank you again for coming. It was our inaugural event. We're happy to announce we're going to be doing it next year in the same place, August 9th to 10th. It's free to all GOA members, so if you're not a member already, you can sign up at gunowners.org.
Membership's not a lot of money either.
Nope.
So
it's $25. Yeah,
$25. Everybody can do this. I hate saying that's a cup of coffee, but it's really a bottled water here in Vegas.
100%.
Right? So that was a huge success, and you guys are doing it again. That is fantastic. When I called you to reach out to see if you'd be on the show, you're like, hey, man, we're going crazy on Capitol Hill here. What's been going on? GOA's like fighting everything. There's cases that are going up to the Supreme Court. There's cases that are going to the lower courts. Dish.
Yeah, I feel really bad about it, but you got me right in the middle of me walking past the Supreme Court, going from the Senate side all the way over to the House side. And yeah, we're fighting everything, new administration, new Congress, new Senate. This is the time that we have to go on the offense. We've been playing defense for the last 4 years. We've got some great wins there, stopping the pistol brace ban, stopping the frame and receiver rule, stopping the engage in the business rule. But now is the time for us to really restore the Second Amendment to what it's supposed to be. So probably the biggest thing we're pushing right now is the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, which would essentially have your carry license be treated like your driver's license would. So it's accepted in all states, no matter what. Additionally, and this is something that I don't think is brought up as much, is it's constitutional carry friendly. Meaning if you're in a constitutional carry state like Texas, you can still carry in California with all of your stuff that you carry in Texas with just your driver's license.
That's a pretty incredible thing.
It is,
That's a pretty incredible thing. I'm an instructor. I teach the Utah class. I don't care that it cuts into my income. But what I think is really cool is that we can travel everywhere. We don't have to worry about reciprocity. We don't have to worry about another license someplace, spending the money for a background check. I've actually started the process to get a New Jersey carry permit. It cost me $150 and 6 or 7 months of time to get an FID card so I could bring a shotgun to Jersey when I go down and shoot plays. Then to get the concealed carry permit, it was $275 for the qualification, and then it was another $200 for the license, and it's only been 2 months that I've been waiting to get the carry permit for New Jersey. So that would end that, which I would appreciate. I can afford to buy myself another gun or two if that goes through.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that's stopping a lot of people from concealed carrying for their own self-defense is the prohibitive cost. I've got a DC concealed carry license, and just like you, it took me, I want to say like 4 months and several $100s just to be able to carry where I go to work. And that's the craziest thing is DC is not exactly the safest city in the
right.
in the nation. And I live in Virginia, but I go to work in DC. I travel to Maryland sometimes to go to the fish and everything. But
right.
I have to have 3 different licenses.
That area is really tricky because Virginia's right next to DC. DC's on the other side of Maryland. Like everything is really, really close in that area. So if you want to do any traveling at all, if you want to go see something or visit something, you got a whole new set of laws to follow, to pay attention to, and to know and to be familiar with.
Yeah, funny. There's actually one section, like a 30-minute, my 30-minute commute, where I travel through all 3 states, and I have to have all 3 licenses on me right now. But that would go away with concealed carry reciprocity.
That's good. Where I work and where I live, I have a job that takes me into Connecticut for a half mile. So I always tell people I drive through that half mile as fast as possible because I want to be there as little as time as possible because I know I'm breaking the law, but it's one of those things to me. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's a half mile. If I get a stoplight, it might be 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go through the process to get a Connecticut permit because I don't do anything else in Connecticut except drive through that one little corner of the towns.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of ridiculous situation where we don't want to put people in, and you shouldn't be punished for that,
Right.
For just simply traveling through. But we know some of these anti-gun states will specifically target people. In Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. Maryland was actually caught in the past stopping Virginia license plate cars and searching them to see if there was a gun there because there, like you said, there's different laws and there's different concealed carry laws.
Sure.
And people would get sent to court for it, even though they're just traveling through, like you said.
They're not breaking any laws. They're not doing anything illegal. No criminal activity. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I got to say, I do have some concerns about it. My concerns are that in the occupied territory, if you will, right, in the bad states, they're going to want to they're not going to want to concede anything and give anything up. You know what I mean? They're going to want people to take more training. Like Illinois is 16 hours a class. New York is 18 hours a class. Massachusetts is looking at some new stuff to up their training to include live fire and a written exam, or basically an NRA basic pistol class. I'm concerned, being a Massachusetts resident, I'm concerned that it's going to be more than the 8-hour NRA basic pistol class that somebody would need to get a permit. I don't see them wanting to give anything, like wanting to concede and saying, hey, listen, you know what? You can drive through our state or you can carry in our state. I don't see that happening. Don't take it. I'm not telling you not to do it. Believe me, I'm not saying that at all. But it's just one of my concerns when I talk to students and they say, I didn't know that my Massachusetts permit won't work in Connecticut or Rhode Island or whatever else.
No, so I completely understand. You're right. It is the behind enemy lines, as some are going to say.
Yeah.
Their restrictions, their training. We unfortunately we can't change that right now. But
Right.
for people visiting and going through, there are actually protections not only for the gun, the magazine, and the ammunition, but also they can't arrest you on false charge or on the charge of carrying concealed if you're lawfully going under this, and try to bankrupt you with court fees. So we're protecting as many people as we can, and excuse me, sorry,
Sorry.
little stuffy in the throat. It really is about making it an overwhelming push and pushing it so that they can't stop anyone when they're realizing, like, oh, well, yeah, I can't pull over this guy because I can see he's concealed carrying if he's printing a little bit, but if he's an out-of-state resident, there's nothing I can do.
Right, you can't rake him over the coals.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. I think national reciprocity would be great. What do you think about, because I have a lot of people ask me about this. They say, well, since we don't have national reciprocity, wouldn't it be great if the government gave us a permit for every state? And I'm like, that's not a good idea because I don't like the government in general saying that this is what you have to do to make us happy, and then have them say 6, 7, 8 years later, oh no, this is what you have to do to make us happy. This is what you have to do to make us happy. So yeah, permitless carry, constitutional carry would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and that's the big thing about this. It does protect those 29 constitutional carry states, and that's a majority of America.
It really is.
And as more and more as we keep pushing, we're not going to get as many new states into the constitutional carry map as we have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how you're winning, because
Right.
it's those last holdouts. It's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and we've made huge progress over the last few decades. And my vice presidents, they've been on this fight since the very beginning as well, and they started pushing it when it was just called Vermont carry, because they
Right.
were the only ones that didn't have to have a permit, and it was in their state constitution.
Yeah, I use this. I don't want to plug this website necessarily, but there's a website called, I think it's called Radical Gun Nuttery, or maybe just Gun Nuttery, and I use this in every class I teach. They have it's the right to carry advancement, and it shows you that we just had Vermont, and then we get in 2003 we get Texas, in 2010 we get Arizona, and all the states that have gone to permitless carry.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Whenever anyone says, "Oh, well, how are we actually winning in the gunfight world? How are we winning in gun rights?" It's like you could see 30 years ago what it was like and how much improvement we've made, and that is really brings more hope and brings more motivation to continue the fight.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic to get some national reciprocity. What else do you have going on? What else is GOA up to?
Well, I mean, we're working with the new administration. We're trying to get all of these rules undone. President Trump promised that in his first week, he's going to be undoing all of the Biden ATF rules through executive order, which is amazing. For too long, law-abiding American gun owners have been harassed and discriminated against by the ATF for simply, in the pistol brace rule, it's only a piece of plastic and something that they legally and lawfully bought, within the last decade.
Yeah, it's completely nuts, man. It's completely nuts. The pistol brace would be great. I had a friend that said once pistol braces become legal, she's going to wear one on her neck like she's Flavor Flav. So I'm like that'll be hysterical.
That's a great accessory. Yeah,
I know, right? She can't put on. She lives in occupied territory, so she can't put it on a gun yet. But when she does, that's kind of what the game
soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Soon.
Very soon. Keep going.
Yeah. There's also we're talking about the Shush Act, the HBA. Really interesting. We just had the first ever introduction in the Senate of the no registry rights. So what that bill would do is delete ATF's illegal 1 billion record registry of all of the gun transaction forms that they have up in West Virginia.
Isn't gun registration illegal already?
It 100% is, and that's exactly why this should be an easy bill. It's like you're just complying with what was written in the Firearm Owner Protection Act, and you know what? That's why we're so excited that it's gaining steam and people are realizing. Oh, it's really funny actually. We got fact checked by USA Today on our full researched report done by my amazing boss, Aiden Johnston. It's like 300 pages long.
Wow.
And they fact checked us and basically said, well, ATF said that they can't have it because it's illegal. So all this stuff that you have, all this research you've done, that's not real.
That's great. Similar. I've had a lot of people say, wouldn't it be great if Trump came out and found out the 2020 elections were rigged, and then they could say, well, then they could make Biden an illegitimate president. But I'm like, the damage is already done. Like you can't undo that.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that would have on all these executive orders that have already gone out.
Right.
But right now we're kind of focused on the future of how do we deal with that right now? How do we undo this right now?
Mm-hmm.
And also, how do we continue the fight and restore the Second Amendment and push for as many victories as we can? The 6 months, and it's like you were saying at the beginning of like I've been on the Hill every single day for the last month.
Wow.
Wearing a suit, so I'm kind of happy I get to wear a short sleeve shirt.
Right, don't have to wear a jacket.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Not to change topics too fast, but you were up for a Gundy the other night.
Yes, no, it was an honor to be nominated and make it into the top 5.
That is really cool. That was really cool. That was a fun time. Did you go last year?
Oh yeah, I was fortunate enough to attend last year as well.
Nice. Were you one of the nominees last year?
I was not.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, all right. Just keep going.
It was a lot of fun, man. It was really cool. It was at a really nice place. It was like maybe 2/3 full.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. Which
I heard
really cool.
1,500 was the number they gave me. Yeah,
nice. I could have guessed that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And it's cool to see all these creators get together, all the movers and shakers get together and hang out and dress up and look cool and whatnot. Yeah, that was cool, man. I was excited when I was going through. And I saw that you were one of the nominees, so that was very cool, man.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, what else is GOA going on?
So again, we have all these Biden ATF lawsuits that we're working on. We're also working on, I think one of our most important one is the Illinois assault weapons ban case. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court did not grant injunctive relief, but it's still making its way up to the court and up to the Supreme Court. And now I hate to keep bringing it back, but I'm a lobbyist by heart. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
An interesting part is with the new DOJ, with the new Attorney General, they can kind of play this game where our cases they're the defense, they're against us.
Mm-hmm.
If they just say, well, we intend to lose this case, we're not going to put up a fight, then that really is super helpful and gets our case all the way up to the top and helps set a precedent.
Right.
The Biden administration did that with a bunch of their culture war lawsuits. So I don't think there's any reason we can't do that right now.
Right. It's we need to use the if the game plan works for them, we ought to make it work for us.
Exactly.
For sure. So sometimes it's important to take a loss to advance everything, and a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For sure. If the Illinois assault weapon ban goes through, is this going to make the other assault weapon bans in other states? Like, how does it affect those? Like, if the one in Illinois affects the one, there's one in Maryland too, right?
Yes.
So if Chicago goes through and makes it to the Supreme Court, how is that going to affect Maryland?
Well, I mean, it depends again on what the Supreme Court says,
Okay.
but it would be something like, the new law of the land would be, well, you can't ban, for example, magazine sizes. You can't ban models or specifically
Specific
AR-15s.
models.
Yeah. And I think that's extremely helpful because that's a majority of these assault weapons bans are all the exact same. It's almost copy and pasted from the
Right.
1994 version.
Yeah.
Or they're saying, oh, you can only have 10 rounds, and you can't have, the AR-180. You can't have a AR-15. You can't have the Daewoo K2. That's my favorite.
Nice.
So I'm actually banned in Maryland from bringing it, but
That's ridiculous. Yeah, it'd be great if one affected the other. Obviously, I'm hoping it rules in our favor, particularly since I live in occupied territory. I'm one of the hateful eight that Bruin really affected. So cool. What else is exciting in the life of Ben? Do you get a chance to go shooting yourself?
I get out as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's dry fire every single day. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I actually have been focusing a little bit more on transitions. I'll put big, targets up on my screen and then set a few up and just move my hands back and forth and just track with my eye. I figured out that's really helpful for me.
Yeah. So the eyes got to move first, and then you bring the sights to your eyes. Yeah. This is what they say. I don't know. What kind of shooting do you like to do? Do you do like IDPA, IPSC, USPSA?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get out to many competitions lately.
No.
My first one actually was with the Glock Shooting Sports Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And it's just quick and easy. You're standing. You don't have to move all around that much.
Right.
It's a bunch of fun. I did the Lethal Weapons Texas was the one sponsored by Sons of Liberty.
Oh,
and
cool.
that was a fun rifle match. I want to keep doing more. I want to get into all the things I can. Long range would be awesome. I know a bunch of my coworkers, shooting out to 1,000 meters, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to do that.
Right? Can't see that far, man. That's cool. A lot of folks I know that spend time fighting for the rights of everyone else don't get a lot of trigger time themselves. So I completely get that. One of the things that I like to do is I like to go out. You get the instant gratification when you go do sporting clays, but then you also hang out with all the shotgun guys that are at the, like, I don't want to say the bottom of the totem pole, but sometimes they're less than willing to look at guys with ARs and whatnot. So it's sometimes a little tough.
Yeah. I actually really enjoy sporting clays. There's one pretty local to me, about 40 minutes or so.
Which one?
Bull Run. It's
Bull Run.
in Manassas. It's a bunch of fun. I've trap. I'm okay at skeet. I just can't get the hang of it with the sporting clays. It just clicks.
Sporting clays is fun.
Yeah.
So my idea was this: if I did this past summer, one of my goals was to shoot trap more often, because I'm like, well, if I can shoot trap, then I should be able to hit flying clays. Then maybe that's going to improve my sporting clays, because sporting clays, it seems like it comes from every place, every place, every time. Everyone's different. Every station is different. And I went to the Central Virginia Sporting Clays. I've been there a couple times. Talked with the owner. I get to interview him. He actually took me on we rode on the ground on his plane, which was pretty cool. He's got a plane in his property. But he changes the course every 30 days. Yeah.
Cool.
It's not the same. And he's got 3 different levels. So when we went, he had, I think it was red, yellow, and white. And we thought the white was the easy one, because that would make sense, right? Like if you're looking at spices, the red ones might be a little spicier. So we did the white one, and we're like, dude, this is impossible. Like, what's going on? We hit less than 50 clays. We talked to him afterwards. He's like, oh, no, white's the pro level.
Well, 50's not bad at all then, right?
Right. That'll put a perspective, right?
Yeah.
Some perspective on it. Very cool. Very cool. What else do we have? GOA is doing all the great stuff.
Yeah, no, it's we're expanding, and it's awesome to be part of this. Just a few years ago when I started, we were a little bit on the smaller side. Now we've grown exponentially. We have our own convention. Our YouTube, which is where most people know me from here, which is the funniest part because I feel like my full-time job is being a federal lobbyist and my part-time job is doing the YouTube host stuff.
Right.
That's exploded as well. I got to thank, our awesome comms and creative team. They really make me look good.
You guys have the Minuteman Minute too. I know that's
Yeah.
not you, but you
Oh
guys
no,
have
I
another-
am the Minuteman
Oh, you
moment.
are?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know somebody else was doing that for a while.
Oh yeah, no, actually, that's Phil Raboli.
Okay.
He had to take a quick break. He went to go work in the government for a little bit, but now he's back and he has his own show called Law and Ammo, which is our
Oh, okay.
legal focus show, and
Oh,
it's
wow.
amazing. Yeah, we really dive deep into the cases we're doing, into all the case law, and then our last show is One in the Chamber, which is with Tiffany Kudris. And what she does is she breaks down the activism side a lot more than I do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she does a great job, and she is like, hey, this is what you can say to people at your relatives at Thanksgiving. Here's how you bring them over, and here's how you explain these things. And if you're ever frustrated about a anti-gun uncle or aunt, and this is how you explain. AR-15s are no different. They're not scary. They're not crazy assault weapons.
Right.
And then, I want to shout out our industry side, the State of the Second podcast with John and Kaylee. That's also awesome. They have really interesting interviews with members of the industry and how the Second Amendment applies to them.
Very cool. GOA's got a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to say some of the other groups might need to take a lesson. I'm just saying you guys got a lot of stuff going on, man. And it's great to be embracing all the social media and YouTube and short form videos and everything. This is what we need to be doing to get more people involved. The talking with people at home, the conversations over dinner, over Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, whatever. Those are the really important ones. I had some friends that were anti-gun wackos. I call them, they were my surrogate family. They weren't related to me, but I spent a lot of time with them. And they were these people that got to a point where they said, hey, we knew you before you became a gun guy, so we know you're okay. And I was like, it's a little bigoted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a little bigoted. And then one time they're like, they asked me over for the holidays. And I said, of course I'll come over. And they're like, can you not bring any guns into the house? I'm like, you know what? I'll just bring knives. Is that okay? Like, I can still kill you guys with knives if I need to. So there's a lot of misconceptions, and these are the people that we need to, even if we just neutralize them, that's a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Most of my family is actually anti-gun.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly how I fell into this. I'd like to say it's due to my grandfather taking me shooting shotguns, but it really has been, bringing up through the culture, just checking through social media, through watching YouTube videos, through watching movies, playing games, really brought me into the Second Amendment industry and has allowed me this awesome job, and I can do what I love for a living.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, talking to your family and maybe not even fully converting them, but getting them to see, like, okay, it's not as scary as I thought. I don't want one, but it's not as scary. That's the first step. We just got to normalize it and keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Absolutely. I had a friend one time, his wife came out to take some pictures for me for stuff. And he said to me, he says, listen, I don't want my wife shooting any guns. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to, I get it. So we get there. Somebody came walking. They had one of the Smith & Wesson 1522s and the pink lady, or the Muddy Girl camo. And so she's like, what's that gun? And he's like, oh, it's this and this. It's an AR-15, shoots 22s. And she's like, can I shoot it? He's like, yeah, of course. Then he pulls out a purple Ruger, and she shoots that. My buddy called me at 10:30 that night. He's like, dude, what did you do to my wife today? I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, you said she wasn't going to shoot any guns. I'm like, yeah, she wasn't. I said, I didn't do it. He's like, who did? I'm like, some other guy came by. She asked if she could shoot it. He said yes. Like, what are we supposed to do? So that felt like a win to me, but I haven't talked to either of them since then. Very cool. How can people find GOA and all the stuff that you guys are doing? Because you got a list of places, right?
Yeah, I think the first one is our website. It's gunowners.org.
Yeah.
We post national alerts, state alerts, all of that. You can find a bunch of amazing resources on what we do and why we're doing it. Then we also have our YouTube channel, which is Gun Owners of America. On Instagram, we're also Gun Owners. X, Facebook, LinkedIn. I had a surprising amount of people say, "Oh, I've seen you on LinkedIn," and I'm like,
LinkedIn.
"Oh."
That's great.
Yeah, but we're on all of those platforms. Just look up Gun Owners or Gun Owners of America, and just feel free to comment, subscribe, like all that.
Awesome, excellent. And $25 to join GOA.
$25. Yep.
You get all the benefits of coming to the Goals event in Knoxville. What were the dates? 9th
and 10th.
9th and 10th in August. I'll tell you what I was shocked about. I don't think I've ever been to Knoxville except for that weekend. I was a little shocked at the parking. It was $10 for the day. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a deal. Anyway, Ben, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Again, we want to thank Samson Manufacturing for hosting the shows this year. We want to thank Land World for getting us this 1942 World War II Jeep to do some shows, and so we get a chance to go riding shotgun. And stay tuned. We've got another guest coming up. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Charlie from Riding Shotgun with Charlie, live from the Samson booth. We want to thank Samson Manufacturing for letting us use their booth again this year for some live shows. We also want to thank Chris from Land World and Hera Industries. Chris is who we have now. Chris is here because he owns the Jeep. So when Kirk told me, he's like, "Hey, listen, we had the couches last year. We think we can get a Jeep. Do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, of course." Not thinking I'd come here and there's a Jeep.
Yeah.
So this is great. Chris, thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, no, so we're sitting in a original 1942 Ford Army Jeep.
Unbelievable.
And I've owned this Jeep since I was 18 years old, bought it in Phoenix, Arizona, spent most of my life restoring it and just getting the interest in this kind of hobby.
Yeah.
I never thought in a million years to bring it to a show, but we went with Samson about a month or two ago to the SEMA show, which is the automotive show, and we brought this huge hit.
Very
so
cool.
Living in Salt Lake City, it wasn't much of a lift to to tow it down here.
Right.
But the military Jeeps and the military hobbies is what got me into the whole firearm thing, because most of the people that wanted Jeeps also asked me, "Hey, can you get the M1 Garand? Can you get the guns?" Which ended us, getting the FFL licenses to get them that.
Right.
Transitioned into doing a lot of work for California. Land World is my company. We also do the Jeeps, but we for 20 years have done California compliancy.
We call it neutering.
Neutering, sorry, in New York. So we bring in the firearms into our facility in Salt Lake City, do the conversion, and then we can ship them over to the dealers in California in a compliant state.
Gotcha.
Because we did that, we're also an importer, which we merged with Hera Arms about 10 years ago. And so interesting, Land World is the importer for Hera. But I also run part of Hera USA. Our distribution warehouse is in Salt Lake. So all the Hera Arms products come right out of Salt Lake City. We import them directly from Germany, and then we out to distribution to the channel partners. But the Jeep has always been a soft spot in my heart, because most guys like Army Jeeps, like guns.
I want to know this. How does an 18-year-old get enough money to buy a 1942 Jeep?
Mom and dad, baby.
Really?
This Jeep cost about $3,000, and it looked like an Army Jeep because it was just painted green.
Oh, geez.
Then not having any money, I took it all apart completely to the frame.
Yeah.
And let it sit in my parents' garage for about 5 years, and they finally said, "Hey, come and get it." And
you need to do something with this.
Get all these parts. So over the years, we restored it. But what's funny is, since this is a Ford, this is an early Ford. So on the back of the Jeep, it says Ford. They call it a Ford script.
Okay.
And it only happened for a little while. I don't know, 6 months. And where they said Ford, and then Willys had Willys, and the government said stop advertising. So now it's flat. So this is a Ford script Jeep.
Oh my God.
And as if you look around the Jeep, I can show you all the little nuts and bolts and little pieces have a little Ford script F stamped in them.
That's cool.
So it gets obsessive, because people that want to restore these go to the ends of the earth to find parts and pieces that say Ford on them. They'll barter with Willys, things like that. Original engine, 6-volt system, original radio, original canvas.
I can tell. I love this. The straps on the side are just little. These aren't going to protect anybody from anything.
Yeah. There's no airbags. Definitely no.
Just you and me.
No ABS brakes, baby. So if you have a teenager in a Saturn cutting you off, it's like, come on, dude.
That is awesome. This is great, man. This is great. I want to say thank you for bringing this in. You said it was really cool to drive it around the Caesars Forum here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it's an eye catcher. I think we're the only ones that even thought about this.
Totally. Samson last year had the Little Green Men, the Little Green Army Men.
Great tie-in.
I thought it was great. This was really cool.
And your other guests have loved being in it.
So people are coming by. I had one guy. I thought he was going to move the microphones around and just check out all the gear that's in here.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
I mean, it really is original. So, we got a lot of, vets and stuff. I mean, and they're getting kind of long in time, but, they're almost teary-eyed when they see it, because they remember when they were 18, 19, cruising around.
Right, and they could fit behind the wheel. That's right. I'm in the best seat of the house right now. Oh, you lucky dog. I'm sucking it in here. All right, listen, we need to cut you loose. We're going to
no
have
worries.
Adam Kraut back in just a moment, so we're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to come back with Adam Kraut from Second Amendment Foundation. Chris,
excellent. Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, man.
Appreciate it.
There
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Riding Shotgun with Charlie live from the Samson booth at the SHOT Show in 2025. We got some live shows going on. Right now, I have with me Adam Kraut, the executive director of SAF, the Second Amendment Foundation. Adam, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's nice to be back in a vehicle with you.
I know, right? So
it's not nearly as terrifying because we're not moving this time.
Okay, what are you trying to say?
Nothing. Take that how you will.
Take it. All right.
There's lots of people on the road, by the way, not just Charlie. For clarity.
It's not all me. It's not all me. So first, we want to thank Samson Manufacturing for letting us do the live shows here at the booth. And we just had on Chris from Land World. They are the ones that own the Jeep and provide the Jeep, and they also neuter firearms so people can import them into California. So we want to thank those guys for helping us out, for bringing in the Jeep. And let's talk SAF.
Yeah, well, hopefully SAF wins some cases in California so they don't have to keep neutering firearms. They could just bring regular firearms in.
Oh, they can bring unneutered firearms.
Unneutered firearms,
right.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of cases. I get the emails all the time.
We do.
There's an email, there's an email, there's an email, another SAF victory, another SAF victory, another SAF victory. I love it.
Well, that's what we're here to do, win.
Absolutely.
We do our best at it, that's for sure.
Totally. So what's been going on? Tell us about some of these cases.
Oh, well, I think the ones that everybody was talking about this week are the ones up at the Supreme Court. So we had a couple of cert petitions at the Supreme Court. There were two cert petitions denied about 2 weeks ago, one of which was ours. That was Gray v. Jennings that came out of Delaware's assault weapons ban challenge. And the court consolidated. We had filed two separate cases, one challenging the assault weapons ban and one challenging the magazine capacity ban. It got merged into one case. So that's what was up at the Supreme Court. And that was up there on a question that dealt with the elements of preliminary injunctions. So to get a preliminary injunction, which is basically the beginning of the case, you're asking the court to maintain that status quo and enjoin the law while the case is going on. Doesn't mean you win, just means we keep things the same while this case proceeds. Gotcha. So we asked the court to enjoin the enforcement of the assault weapons and the magazine capacity bans. The court did not do that. We went up to the Third Circuit, the appellate court, asked them to say, hey, lower courts, you're wrong. Unfortunately for us, the Third Circuit said, nope, that, we're not going to do this. And the reason they said that was simply because that we did not, according to the court, meet the element of irreparable harm. Now, in First Amendment challenges, when there's a violation of the First Amendment, the Supreme Court has said that there is per se, or just on its face, there is irreparable harm because you're denied the ability to exercise a constitutional right. Okay. There is a circuit split on this issue. The Seventh and the Ninth Circuits have said that irreparable harm when there's a Second Amendment violation exists, and that's one of the elements you need for the preliminary injunction. So we went up to the Supreme Court basically saying, hey, can you rule as to whether or not a violation of the Second Amendment constitutes per se irreparable harm? And now there's a circuit split on the issue, which is something that the Supreme Court looks at when it's deciding to take cases or not take cases. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the court denied cert in that. It also denied cert in Maryland shall issue versus Moore, which dealt with Maryland's handgun qualification or purchase permits. So apparently the court did not have an appetite for that. Right now, though, the big ones that are in front of the Supreme Court everybody's talking about are Snope versus Brown, which is SAF's challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban, and Ocean State Tactical, which is dealing with Rhode Island's magazine capacity ban. That one's up on a preliminary injunction, and generally the court doesn't want to hear stuff on preliminary injunctions. However, it's been relisted along with Snope now for the third time. And what does that mean? Well, it went to conference. The justices did not make a decision to grant or deny. They relisted it for another conference. And they just, again, the other day, yesterday, I think, relisted it for a third time. People like to say they know what's going to happen, but nobody really knows. Right. However, the SCOTUS blog does have statistics on this that come from 2020. So they're a little old, but when a petition was relisted in 2020, there was a, let me see here. I'm getting the numbers mixed up in my head. Out of all the petitions that the court granted cert to, like 42% had been relisted previously. And out of all the relisted petitions, I think there was like a 30-some% chance that a cert grant would happen if the petition was relisted. So relist once is not a bad thing. Relist twice, your odds start to go down. 3 times dramatically start to decrease. So it doesn't mean we're at the end of the road yet, but it's not, as good as it was. The Snope case is positioned well, I think, to be heard by the Supreme Court for 2 reasons. One, it was already up It went all the way up through the Fourth Circuit. Fourth Circuit issued a decision. Bruin came out. The court granted, vacated, and remanded, which said we're going to grant cert, we're going to vacate or throw out the lower court decision and send it back down for them to do the analysis again, consistent with Bruin. It's now been heard by the Fourth Circuit en banc, which means as a whole, as opposed to a 3-judge panel, which is how it typically is heard. And we have an en banc opinion where the Fourth Circuit once again has made up a test that the Supreme Court did not give the lower courts to justify Maryland's assault weapons ban. So we're hopeful. We have 8 assault weapons ban challenges across the country currently. And certainly, this would clarify that these are in fact common arms in common use for lawful purposes and constitutionally protected.
Sure. I've heard a number of people say there are more ARs than there are Ford F-150s.
That's a statistic we have in our briefing, yes.
Right. So how can you say it's not in common use?
You can't.
Right. It's a little nuts, man.
Yeah.
If the court rules in our favor in one of the cases, how does that affect the other cases? Like there's an assault weapon ban case and a mag case in Illinois, and then we have the one in Maryland. I live in occupied territory.
California, New York.
Right. We go to
New Jersey, all of them.
Right. The Hateful Eight,
Yeah.
which are really the only states that Bruin affected.
Mm-hmm. So the way it would work is that if the Supreme Court granted cert to Snope, in all these other cases, they'd likely get stayed, which means that the court would just kind of put them off to the side and hold them while the Supreme Court does its thing, which would be briefing, oral argument, and then eventually sometime next year issue an opinion on it. At that point, that opinion would control the analysis in all these other cases. And of course, if the Supreme Court came down favorably and said, hey, these bans are in fact unconstitutional, since they all more or less mirror each other, almost identical. It's the same thing. The courts would be forced to find that, okay, well, these laws are in fact unconstitutional, which means that states like California, Washington, New Jersey, New York, California, all those places, their assault weapons bans would evaporate overnight. Of course, the state legislatures will try to find ways to go around it. I think one of the things that is kind of beneficial about these challenges, though, is that when you look at how these laws are generally structured, there is a parts test to it, if it has a features test rather. So if it's a semi-automatic centerfire rifle that has 2 or more of these features, and the features always like collapsible stock, pistol grip, a bayonet lug, which so threatening, bayonet lugs, right? Flash hider.
We have to get rid of the drive-by bayonettings.
It's been a real problem. It's an issue. But so they would look at that, would all get thrown out. So it'll be interesting to see how the states attempt to circumvent this. But I think it makes it a lot harder when that's already in all of these laws, as opposed to just, hey, a Colt AR-15 or, whatever manufacturer, like specific make model, which is what the original assault weapons ban was.
Gotcha. One of the things that happened in Massachusetts is they had this gun law listening tour, the nonsense bill that dropped in 2023. One of the things that the law that got passed is they changed the definition of things, which is ridiculous. So they went from calling a handguard to calling it a barrel shroud, and
the shoulder thing that goes up.
The shoulder thing that goes up. How long? That's been around for 15 years, right? The shoulder thing that goes up. It's probably longer. This is ridiculous that they redefine stuff and say, "Oh, this is what it is. Oh, this is really what this is." We're changing the definition. It's completely nonsense.
It's just their way of trying to most likely insulate from, a court finding against a current existing law. And then that's going to be, unfortunately, it's the next thing that gets challenged. And that's the unfortunate part about all of this is you never really win. The best way to stop it is stop it before it becomes a law, because the flip side of the coin is then you have to A, litigate it, B, pay for it, and see the time it takes. It's not a fast process at all. Bruin took 7 years to get to the Supreme Court.
$2.5 million, I think, is how much it costs.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an inexpensive venture. So it's better. And of course, in some of these states, stopping it before it becomes law is just not politically viable because the state's so blue. You just don't have that option. So, unfortunately, it's just taxpayer dollars fighting the taxpayers. You, the taxpayer, are hopefully engaged in donating to organizations like the Second Amendment Foundation. But unfortunately, your tax dollars go to defending the law, and you're paying out of pocket to have groups like us do the work on your behalf to try to, get those laws thrown off the books.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's unfortunate.
It's nuts. How do you think things will change with the new Trump administration?
So our work doesn't change. I think from a political standpoint, the attacks via executive agencies like ATF for the next 4 years, they won't be a thing. You might see some of those rules under the Biden administration rescinded, hopefully. Congress is going to be the real question. So you're not going to get anti-gun laws out of Congress in the first two because you have a Republican majority in both houses. At the same time, you might not get positive laws. I know everybody's very excited about national reciprocity. The question becomes, how do you get to 60 votes in the Senate? And I don't know if there is a pathway to get to 60 votes. You got to remember the first Trump administration, that law was introduced. You had a Republican majority in both houses, and unfortunately, you didn't have anything.
Same thing with the hearing protection.
Yep. Same thing with the Hearing Protection Act, which is going to be more politically less viable. That was a really weird way of saying that, but it's just concealed carry doesn't have the stigma. Every time a state passes something, whether it's permitless carry or things that make carry more easy, these groups always come out and say, "Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be blood, and it's going to be the Wild West," and that, of course, never happens.
Right.
But silencers have that stigma of they're tools of assassins, and then you look over at Europe and now you can buy them over the counter, and it's actually considered pretty rude to not shoot with a silencer on the gun because you're making it more pleasant for everybody around you, and you're also protecting your own hearing in the process.
Right. It's really interesting how sometimes people want to go to a European style lifestyle and wine for breakfast and an afternoon nap and all this kind of stuff, and then you're like, hey, listen, let's bring the suppressor stuff here. Oh, wait a second, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll give you an interesting example. So the gun range I'm a member of, some developer decided it was a really good idea to build a development right next to it, and I mean right next to it, like the property line. There's a wall that now is erected, and then there's houses right there. And those people are very unhappy about living next to a gun range, which is wild because the gun range had been there since 1940 something. And it wasn't as if it was hidden. But what apparently the realtors did was they took people during the week when it was a little less, and they more or less lied to the people, said, yeah, it doesn't get used all that much. Well, we're out there shooting at night. Doing other things, and
right.
Having silencers would certainly make it more tenable for the neighbors to be able to sit outside on their back decks and kind of enjoy things. And it just, there are good things that the silencers are used for, all of it.
Yeah. I belong to a club in central part of Massachusetts, and the driveway, I don't know, it's a couple 100 feet long, full of trees. And about 4 years ago, some developers bought the property, started taking the trees down, started putting duplexes up. And it's wild to me to drive through the houses, and it looks like it's a driveway, and you drive right down to the range. They've got some high walls and berms and stuff, and then right just beyond those is somebody's house.
Yeah, well, and the whole range thing raises an interesting Second Amendment question and an argument that's been ongoing in courts in various areas over time as to, the Second Amendment obviously protects the right to keep and bear arms, and necessarily like acquiring arms and ammunition, because the amendment is useless if you can't acquire arms, and you can, but the ability to train and the right to train and be proficient with firearms, part and parcel, in my opinion. So interesting Second Amendment issues that stem out of that, and ranges, and of course people trying to shut them down and limit people's access to being able to do exactly that.
Right. Very cool. What came out this week? Oh, the dates for Gun Rights Policy Conference came out.
Yes.
Right. And this year it's going to be in a new place.
Salt Lake City.
That is very cool.
Yes.
Salt Lake City's beautiful.
I've been to the airport.
Same here. I spent, I'm a Utah instructor. I had to go out there to become an instructor.
Okay. Yeah.
I flew out the first time I flew out on a Friday and flew out on Sunday morning. Then I realized I could fly out on Saturday. I flew out on Friday. I flew out on Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
So I saw the airport.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the airport's cool. I've been there for a connecting flight. But so we'll be in Salt Lake City this year. It's I believe it's the 26th through the 28th. Whatever the last weekend is in September, check your calendar. People can go to saf.org/grpc. We will have more information in the registration stuff up sometime in the next week or so, because most of us are here at SHOT Show doing things, just can't get it done while we're here. But we did announce the date so people can take time off work if they need to and block their calendars to make sure that they get there.
It really is. Gun Rights Policy Conference is really, to me, it's the movers and shakers, the people that are getting the things done. The format this year was cool because there were less speakers, but they had more time, so they could they could get into their topic and talk more about the things that they're doing in each of the states and whatnot. So
That was very
really
intentional.
cool.
That was very intentional. So, it used to be like 70 speakers stacked super deep and anywhere from 5 to maybe 10 minutes if you were lucky. But the reality is that you can't really get into any meat of a topic in 5 to 10 minutes. So you get your name out, and the next thing you know, you're getting dragged off stage because the next person has to go. So we decided to scale back, and that'll also allow us to rotate people and bring new speakers in, so that there's a constant change, and it keeps it engaging and inviting. We did fireside chats this past year, which were a big hit. That's something that'll be back this year.
Nice.
We'll probably end up maybe doing a panel or something like that. And as we continue to look at how to evolve the event to give the most value to the attendees, we have some other ideas we're kicking around. So there's going to continue to be an evolution of what it was to make it more just inviting and informational.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's always a great time. The social media has been building too. Like you guys have some newer people, younger people that are more socially active and know how to work the gram.
Yes.
And make all sorts of videos and all sorts of content. So
our gram person is standing over there. So we did hire a new digital media manager back. He actually started at GRPC this past year. And the social media presence when I came to the organization was something that was, really lacking, and certainly the engagement side of things. And that was an immediate thing that I knew we had to rectify, because that's where most people get their information from, but also to build a community and make people that are interacting with us online feel as if we do hear them and we do care what they have to say and contribute to the conversation, and have those interactions where at the end of the day they go like, cool, I've been seen, like they're taking what I say seriously. And we want to make sure that our members and supporters and donors understand that we do see you, we do hear you, we do your concerns are our concerns. And I think one of the things that makes staff very unique is that most of us on staff are shooters. Most of us on staff are people that carry guns every day. Most of us on staff are people that go and take training classes and other things. And so the issues that affect you guys are the same things that maybe they don't affect us directly because we don't live in one of those states, but we care very deeply about it because it's stuff we like and we want to do, and we want you to be able to have those same exact ability as well.
It is when you're in here in the fight, it's harder to get out and go do all these activities that everyone gets to do.
It is, yes. I don't shoot nearly as much as I used to, even now that I live a lot closer to a range than I did, but I still try to get out there from time to time. The night vision shoots are always fun. I try to get to as many of those as possible. Go pheasant hunting. I'm going to try and get a couple training classes lined up this year, so I can get out and get to a few classes because I didn't get to any last year.
Right.
Year before at SHOT Show, I took a night vision class in the desert when SHOT Show was over. So, it's just good.
I had someone last year said they were doing a night shoot. They were going to go to the California border and shoot over the border. That's not the one you went to?
No, that's not the one I went to. I went to one that was at I think it was Pro Gun in Vegas. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool. What else is going on with that staff? Like, there's a lot of stuff up. So
Yeah. So, you had mentioned a new administration. Our work doesn't stop. That was a conversation I've had with several people here. Well, how do you think things are going to go? And like I said, I think there's not going to be really that threat from the administrative side this year. Congress isn't really going to do anything that's going to be bad. Blue states are still going to do blue state things.
Right.
We have over 55 active lawsuits currently. So those all still need to be funded and continue to finish that work. We have other lawsuits we're teeing up now. And then, of course, as these suits start to come to a close, part of them, a large number of them, are part of our strategic plan. So then once we hopefully have positive decisions, now we're on to the next step and we go after the next thing. So we're looking, in a lot of ways, we're looking downstream of where we are today. I usually put things into 3 buckets. There's the strategic stuff. So we look at how the world is today and how we want to shape it. So we plan our lawsuits based on that. We have what I call reactionary. So if you have, let's just say the court takes Snopes decided favorably, and states try to figure out how do we ban these firearms? Well, post Bruin, same thing, right? Sensitive places. Well, we were forced to act. We went ahead and did that. And then we have what I call opportunistic. And those are the ones that where people email us or call us and say, hey, I've got this problem. And we listen to the problem and we say, there's a public benefit to us bringing a lawsuit on your behalf because, yes, it benefits you directly, but it also benefits the public writ large because we act as more or less a public interest law firm.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
we're going to lean heavily into education too in the first part of this year. That's something we're working on. I'm very excited about that as well. So there will be some educational things that I think are going to be really neat coming out of staff. We're currently building them, and then it's a matter of getting the presentation side of it figured out. How do we actually want to present it? So starting with the material first, because we got to get that done, and then from there it'll be the easier part in a lot of ways.
Very cool.
Hopefully.
Awesome. The last question I have before we wrap up is, I know that that Michael Schwartz said between him and John Petrolino that I'm the better looking one, but
that was a trick question.
neither Petrolino or Michael Schwartz are here, so you can give us the real answer.
Gonna demur on that one. I'm not getting caught in this crossfire.
Right. Adam, thank you so much for being
thanks for
on
having
here.
me.
This is a
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Thank you so much. If you're not a member of SAF, you should join the Second Amendment Foundation at saf.org. There is going to be a link below. We want to thank Samson Manufacturing for letting us do some live shows here at the SHOT Show at their booth. We want to thank Land World for bringing in this 1942 World War II Jeep. We got another show tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again. Thank you.